Lay Back and Trade, a podcast by Trading the Market.
Welcome to episode 2 of the long overdue Trading the Market podcast. In this episode, we're going to be discussing women in trading.
Study showed that on average men trade with a 45% higher frequency than women.
Mark will also be looking into the 3-0 strategy for us. And then we're also going to look at using dead data. I'm Matt. I'm going to be joined now by Mark. Mark, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks, Matt. Just for those who don't know, Matt is one of the Trading the Market community leaders. He's a moderator in our Discord. He's learning to be a trader, hoping to be a pro trader one day. So you will be joining Matt on his journey learning as well as you're learning on yours.
So Mark is one of the co-founders of Trading the Market. He would argue the founder. He is a professional trader, lucky bastard, and he's going to take us through now women in trading and the advantages of it. A very interesting subject and probably something that doesn't have much traction behind it, but it's certainly going to be worth looking into.
Yeah, what I will say, starting us off in women in trading, is that when I approached the subject with the members in the community, a couple of people got quite annoyed by why does gender matter, why is it women in trading, and why are we looking at one gender over another. So today I'm hoping to clear that up for people, and I'll be approaching it through the eyes of a psychologist and using real life, real world studies. So if I tell you, Matt, that women are just better traders, and there are studies to back this up, and this is something that's been proven, and it's because of the rationale that women have. Now, I'm going to be looking, first of all, I'll tell you about a study at the University of Leicester. They did a study on women on the financial market. So there are no studies currently about women in sports trading. So everything we're looking at is on financial trading markets. I hope you agree there'll be enough similarities between them that we can consider one to be effective as the other.
Sure.
The study showed that employing more female traders reduces the chances of market crashes and increase positive trading returns. Now, we're going to discuss the psychology behind that through using the University of California's published paper where they looked at 35,000 large brokerage accounts and then split them into females and males. Now, the idea behind it was to see if there was an advantage to having a female or male mindset, and I know we're in the age of not identifying one over the other or gender identifying, but the brains work slightly differently due to nature and the psychology behind people's upbringing. So the study showed that on average men trade with a 45% higher frequency than women, with a net reduction of 2.65%. So I'm just giving you the top line figure here. So when they looked at the study, men tend to make 45% on average more trades than women did. And this gave you the chance to make 45% more mistakes. It could be argued that you could, by trading more, you could just make more money. But in reality of this, the study showed that the net reduction was of 2.65%. So although they made 45% more trades, they made 2.65% less income than the female traders did.
So are we saying that women are generally more analytical than men?
Not so much more just analytical, it's the fact that men have this generally have this inbuilt overconfidence in themselves, which leads them to trading more because they have a belief that they have the ability to just do better.
So we're saying that women could well be more analytical, but men have more of an appetite for risk, which, as we know, that can be what can undo you in this game.
Protecting your bank is the most important part of trading, and women tend to be more risk averse. So that's a trait that was showed in the study from the University of California. They also tend to trade strategies that are less extreme, so they are more risk averse in that way. They spend more time researching and looking into the trades and the positions than men do.
And that is what we preach, isn't it? To spend your time researching and analysing. But unfortunately, there's something in there which makes people just want to jump in at the earliest opportunity, isn't there? And get testing without the testing even.
Yeah, the women in the study all shared the same characteristics of holding on to positions for longer as well, which meant they stayed into trades in the financial markets for longer and deliberating before placing trades. So they spent more time before entering a trade, deliberating of when they should enter or why they should enter, and this resulted in them taking a favourable price and not opening a suboptimal position. So they were able to get a better price just because they applied not only the analytics but time to sort of process information, rather than having that overconfidence and then just jumping straight into a trade, which ultimately could go bad.
I find that interesting that you say women tend to stay in for trades longer, because I've always had it in my mind that you shouldn't be staying in there longer than necessary. So it'd be nice to hear a bit more about that, if you could.
Yeah, well, this again is for financial trades. It's a slightly bit different to sports trading, but the idea behind it is they stayed in longer just because it was going into a loss. They don't necessarily just cut the losses, that they will ride out something if they've researched it. They'll tend to hold on to a position, and women are much more likely to admit to their mistakes. Now, it's an old joke that men won't stop and ask for directions. Deep-rooted in most men that they are right. And the fact is, women are more willing to admit their mistakes when it comes to trading. And before anybody starts saying women never admit they're wrong, or that women are never wrong, it's just not true when it comes to trading. Women will move out of losing positions while men tend to hold on to one, believing that it will turn around, where women will hold on to a longer term position based on data and analytics, and men won't, due to it coming back to the overconfidence thing of men think they're right and they're overconfident, so they will tend to react irrationally when it comes to trading, moving in and out of trades with far greater frequency than women.
That's interesting. So there's a good chance that women could be very successful swing traders. Is this the line we're going down?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they do have. Well, the study showed that women were more likely to stick to the rules as well. So they were more rational in volatile markets, where men would be irrational and carry losses and trade into a losing position. Women tend to have that rationale when the market flies up and back and forth, to just sort of weather it and to trade with the set mindset that they went into, rather than allow the market to the volatility in the market to be volatile to them. So it's a case of the dog wagging the tail, not the tail wagging the dog.
Because it does get perceived as a male dominant sort of interest, doesn't it, trading? And that does seem quite evident when you look at all the well-known names that are out there on YouTube, all the course mongers. It's all men, isn't it? Now, I know we do have a couple of women in the Discord, don't we?
Due to having any username you want, we can't always tell whether you're male or female. But just for the people that I've spoken to myself, I do know we have a good representation in there. But you are right, you don't see any YouTube channels for sports trading that are women. Just like you don't see, so you have the Canberry of the world, you have Peter Webb, you don't have a predominant female sports trader, and I do think we are missing that as a niche.
Could it be that men are better salesmen or salespersons? And I'm not saying that to take the mick, it's a genuine question, because you just don't see it out there. It's something I might go looking for later, just to see if it's out there.
It wouldn't come down to necessarily just sales. It comes down to the fact that men tend to suffer with, should I say, a deep-rooted overconfidence, and that portrays into the YouTube world, because you have to have confidence to be on YouTube. You have to have confidence to go into making videos and put yourself to be criticised and to be judged. And women, when it comes to sports trading, sadly, men don't tend to believe that they overtly know what they're doing. They're not considered to be experts. And I would like to see that change, not because I think that women need to be represented in the sports trading world. I don't think... I think if the top 10 best people are all men, then we should have just the top 10 as men. I don't think we should be introducing women in that in order to just make a balance. But I truly believe that the mindset, as displayed in these studies and papers, that women do have an advantage in sports trading that men don't have, and that becomes down to a discipline that can be taught, a discipline that can be learned by anybody. And I said about women having the ability to follow rules and be less irrational. Now, I combat this by having a notebook on my desk as I trade. I don't trade without it, and that is a book of rules. So when I'm opening up a trade, I will turn to that section, that rule for that sport, and I will follow that. If it doesn't meet that set of rules, then I will not trade that market. Now, when it comes to the average trader, they will just trade, where women have this ingrained ability to just follow what the rules are.
It would be nice to have had a few women in the survey, assuming they're out there, to have come forward and shared their experiences. Or if not so, maybe that's something we could look at going forward. It'd be great to hear other people's experiences, and I'm sure anybody could learn from it.
You can learn from them. I'm sure that a lot of them don't realise the potential they have. The papers and the studies I'm referring to aren't widely known, and I don't suppose that 99% of the people listening to this podcast knew that they existed. There's definitely a real advantage to be had there, and I'll be more trying to emulate their ability rather than just trying to hone in on my own. Yeah.
So, Mark, as a male in trading, from my perspective here, is there any hope for me? And what should I be doing to improve my current status in trading?
Yeah, Matt, great question. Yeah, there's lots of hope for you. So just because you don't have that ingrained mindset doesn't mean you can't learn it. So as I spoke about having my book of rules, have your own book of rules. This is, again, something that helps women be risk averse, but it's something that we can then learn. So if we follow them rules and we write them all down, we never deviate from them, that then becomes a habit. Once it becomes habitual, it just becomes ingrained in itself. You may not necessarily have been gifted that mindset, but it can definitely be learned. So we talk a lot about discipline on the channel, and we talk a lot about discipline in the server. I still say to people that I have discipline injections. So I'm disciplined, but I still need my discipline injection. And when I say it's an injection, I mean it to be a short burst of discipline that comes from reading the words of John and Mark on the Discord, where they provide insights and they'll provide tweets and blogs about how you can be more disciplined, and that will give you the ability to form rational behaviour. Also, we talk a lot about paper trading, not having that overconfidence of I already know it. Paper trade it. If you don't know it, paper trade it for 3 months. And people go, 3 months, I want to be earning money. Yeah, do you want to be earning some money over the course of the next 3 months and possibly and more likely losing? Or do you want in 3 months have the ability that when the market does go irrational, you will know exactly what to do. You know the outcome for every single event. So if you're trading an event on football and a goal goes in, an early goal, and there's a red card at the same time, so there was a penalty and a red card, do you know how that market's going to react? Do you know how you're going to react? Do you know your best options to get out? If you can't answer any of them questions, then you shouldn't be trading that market. Again, it comes down to practice. So if you keep practicing and you keep watching and looking at the markets over that time, and you use the simulator on our Trading the Market website, all for free, you can then gain that confidence that isn't overconfidence. Overconfidence is only confidence without any substance behind it. So it's not overconfidence if you truly hone your ability. And a lot of people tend to have confidence without any real gusto behind them to back it up, and without a knowledge base to back it up. So it becomes more of a cancerous trait, where if we improve and adapt what we already know and we develop ourselves, that confidence is no longer overconfidence, it's just confidence. It's a great way to start. So we look at our own disciplines, we look at our own knowledge base, and we look at our own faults. So I have a fault of being too data driven. So I'm very much all about data, and I have that issue of only trading once I've looked into all the data and analysed it, which can make me slower to a position. The advantage of that is I have a better knowledge of that position. Where you take someone like James, who is data driven but is more impulsive because he has a background working knowledge of things like football and tennis. He makes quicker trades, but with less data driven. So there's not always like a right or wrong way of doing stuff, Matt, and stuff can be learned. I've been pulled into being more intuitive by James, and I pulled James into being more data led. So it does help to decide where you want to be and then pair yourself off with people that match that sort of characteristic. You want to find people who are good at the stuff you aren't and then learn from them.
Just going back to where Mark mentions discipline there, feel free to head over to the Discord, again, which is free, on the trading mentality section for daily inspiration and FOMO help. If you're a bit more modern as well, there is also a Threads where you'll find more inspiration on there as well.
I'll back what Matt's saying there with the work of Mark, John and Hamish is so valuable, and I read it every day. I'm at a level of being a pro trader and I still read that every day. So if you're not reading that every day and you're just trying to be a trader, then I'd ask yourself, are you even taking it seriously?
Thanks for that insight, Mark, there. Very useful, and I'm sure it'll get a lot of people thinking.
Yeah, no worries, Matt.
This podcast is sponsored by Trading the Market, the home of sports trading. Bloody boom.
So, in this next section, we'll be discussing a football strategy, bearing in mind that by the time this goes out, we will be near enough around about the point of the season where football trade in the European leagues is going to be very current. So, this is going to be the 3-0 strategy, a very popular strategy, which gets used around the European leagues, and one which I believe you invented yourself, didn't you, Mark, in your early days of trading?
Yeah, this was actually the first strategy I publicised onto the channel, and it's a Trading the Market original, straight out of Leno's head.
So how did you find this then? What prompted you to think there's an opportunity here?
It comes down to when I started to learn to trade, and I took trading from a different angle. So everybody was teaching trading on how to trade and all these strategies, but I thought, well, maybe I can have a look at my own strategy and see what I can come up with. And the angle I went in with, which is the angle I still use to this day, is I trade belief rather than just the market. So I trade in what people believe are going to happen. So the idea and the conception of the 3-0 strategy is literally trading on belief rather than just blindly placing a trade.
What parameters do you suggest people look for here? I know they've probably seen the video, but if they're not familiar with TTM, where do we start?
Well, in the TTM video, we give you an odds range of when you want to, where you want to enter the market, whether that be the odds on the match odds or the odds on the 3-0 market. And we do that because we want to give people the idea of how to learn something, but I don't necessarily use them parameters. What I use is the belief that that team are going to score. That is reflected in match odds. So you're looking for fairly low match odds for one of the teams, either home or away. And the match has to matter. So I will say if you're coming towards the end of the season and the team are playing, you've got a mid-table team playing a relegation team, and the mid-table team are expected to win easily. That's not always the case. So I'd stick to your first 8 and your last 8. So after the first 8 games of the season and before the last 8 games of the season.
Something I want to know, because I've been caught in this position myself, and I'm sure others have. So the team I'm backing 3-0 scores within the first 5 to 10 minutes. The market isn't reforming quickly enough. What do we do?
Yeah, good question. So people always say this to me when we're discussing it, is the goal comes in too quick and the market shows me still making a loss. Now, the reason for that is because the market's now gained an overconfidence in the ability for this team to win, and the result is expected to be an any other home or away win. So it's expected to be a goal line that's much higher. Now, the ideal time for a goal to come in is roughly between the 20th and 30th minute. So if you get a goal too early, you get it in the 10th minute, and that market's going to react to thinking it's going to be an any other home or away correct score line, then all you need to add into that is time. So the time you didn't get before the goal, which you would have waited for longer, you just need to add that back in. So if it's scored in the 10th minute, don't try and get out just after the goal. Hold on to it, because as time goes on, confidence will be lost in the any other away or home win market, and it will fall into the 4-0 market on either side. And after a bit more time, that'll then fall into the 3-0 market, and you'll see your profit rising in. Now, it's not very often that goals are scored in quick succession in football games, so you're going to be unlucky if then another goal goes in. But at that point, I'd still be adding just the time in.
Do you think, come the time this strategy is ready to trade, is there any value in having a list of the leagues you want to trade and particular teams from that league which you expect to be useful for this strategy, or would you ignore that and just go off the data?
I'd go off the data, but equally, because you're trading in a belief and not just... So you're not trading the fact you think it'll be 3-0, you're trading a belief. You need to pick teams where there's quite a high amount of liquidity, only because that will then provide a more a truer market. So that crowd mentality of the herd mentality of it being correct. So wisdom in crowds is what I'm looking for. With a market that's got low liquidity, you'll be finding that it could be 1 or maybe 2, 3, 4 players with high stakes is swaying that market. So you're not going to get the profit that you should get, or you would get if it was on a high liquidity market.
And feel free to slap me down here, but we're talking about belief. Now, would I be wrong to express an opinion that I think this strategy really only does work for the European games in the European season? Because I didn't see many opportunities through the summer leagues personally, but that, again, was just my belief because I find leagues like Norway hard to predict other than goals.
No, I'd agree with you there, Matt. I would believe that this only works really on the European leagues. Now, controversially, I only tend to trade the European league, so I don't do much outside of Europe. I definitely don't do any 3-0 outside of Europe, and I don't tend to trade football during the summer months when the winter leagues aren't playing. So it's not one I use, yeah. And I know you've been using it for a while now, and it's would I be right in saying it's one of your favourite strategies?
It is, and I'll happily admit, and I'll use the excuse that I'm young into my journey, you can't just go and find a game like, for example, AC Milan playing, say, an Italian team that's bottom of the league. You can't just go and back AC Milan 3-0 just because it's AC Milan. It will bite you.
Why have you found that?
Why? Because you're not going off the data. Again, while your opinion is powerful to a degree, opinion isn't good enough. Certainly not when there's real money on the line.
When we talk about trading belief, what you're saying is it has to be a belief that's founded in fact rather than just unfactual belief.
That's what I was trying to say, yeah.
Yeah, I will say when it comes to teams like, and I give this example a lot, Man United. Man United have a large fan base, and I know so many Man United traders
from Cornwall,
in Cornwall and all around the world. What I will say is that Man United fans believe if it could be the last 15 minutes, and you'll see a positive trend on the 3-0 market if the first goal goes in the last 15 minutes, because those guys believe that United are going to win everything 3-0, if not more. So, when it comes to trading belief, it's not always based in fact, and you can get bitten. So if you've got a team that should be absolutely punneling Man United, and they score a goal, your 3-0 market won't drop as much into profit, because there'll be the fan base, or the trader fan base of Man United propping the price up because they don't believe it's going to end 3-0.
No, that's a fair point. I know that's a generic Man United opinion, but based off this season, it looks like they're very much going through the same that they've been going through the past couple of seasons. So I'd probably find a different sport to follow if I was them. It's a bit of snooker's played year round, isn't it?
It is, and I think that's probably made it fairly obvious that you're not a Man United fan.
I'm not here to discuss my team. Maybe at the end of the season.
Yeah, see how you get on. The 3-0 strategy is a phenomenal strategy in my view, and I'm going to say that because it's a conception out of my head, but that's not an ego thing. It really just works. It works because we're trading at a higher price as well. So you buy in at 16s and it drops to 15. Your trade drop there is 1 tick, so it's 1 price movement. But in the terms of 2s to 3s, that's 50 ticks. Yeah. So in the same decimal movement, so from 2 to 3, we're having to see 50 ticks as a movement, where 15 to 16 and back the other way is 1 tick in movement.
What is the optimum price of entry for that strategy? Anything 10s and above?
Yeah, you still want to make sure that you're going to get money out of it, so you still want to make sure there's profit to be had. Yeah, 10s or above is probably a fairly good sort of figure to go for. I wouldn't go too high because obviously the market doesn't believe there's going to be goals. And I will correct myself. When I said the price movement from 16 to 15, 15 to 16, it's actually 2 ticks because it's 15, 15 and a half, 16. I just wanted to say that before I started getting all the comments going, doesn't even know how many ticks are between 15 and 16.
So, regarding exiting this trade, if it's 0-0 after 60 to 70 minutes, what do you do?
Me personally, I'll leave it in. I enter the trade for that belief. I know at that point people will say it just becomes gambling. Yeah, I suppose it is. You're waiting to trade a belief and you pick the game because you did your research. Yeah, nothing's 100% of the time. What I will say is it very rarely happens because I've done my due diligence. I'm picking games where I know there's going to be goals. I'm profiling matches. I'm not just going, well, that team should beat that one, so I'm going to pick them because that team should beat that one, but they may only score on average 1 goal against an opponent. So, or they may only carry a game to a 2-0 lead, and they may have never scored 3 goals in a single game in the season. If that's the case, then people aren't going to believe it's going to finish 3-0. So your profit made from trading a belief is no longer a belief shared by others. It's just one you have. And
this is still a strategy you actually actively use, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's a great strategy. I remember in the early days of TTM, we got the members to the community, should I say, not members. Nobody's paid. We got the community to pick the trades after doing a lot of coaching with them, and we donated all the winnings of me trading the matches that they picked off to a charity. But it was quite a successful night with, I think it was every trade came in.
Wow, it's interesting because I know we don't tip, but if you look in the 3-0 correct score strategy section of the Discord, you quite often find people chatting at the height of the season, and it's quite entertaining because there's a good handful of members in there that were picking the same game, so it's quite encouraging.
It's an easy strategy to learn, so it's an easy one to master. It's an easy one to get your head round, and it's an easy one to do. So it's not complicated. It's once a goal goes in for the team that you back the 3-0 for, you wait until the market settles into a place of profit or a place you're happy with, and then you take that money. It's not a strategy where it relies on you backing in one market to lay in a different for it to be. Once you back into one position and something happens, you lay out into another 3 different positions. The complexity of it is very, very simple, and that's why it started off as the first video.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting as well, though, there is a fair bit of detail required to refine your selections, and that comes down to the relevance and the attack versus defence.
Yeah, we call it the magic number. So the magic number basically is an indication on goals, and relevance is an indication on dominance. So you need both dominance and goals in order to get a game where there's going to be 3-0. So you can't just pick dominance or a team that scores lots of goals, because if you pick a team that scores lots of goals, they may also have a lot of goals scored against them. So that's why you need the dominance as well.
Mark, good chat. Enjoyed that, especially around a strategy I'm genuinely interested in. Now, before we move on, why do you think more people should use it? And I suppose we kind of covered it because of the simplicity, but would you have anything further to add to why more people should look at exploring this strategy?
Yeah, I think people should use this strategy, not only because it's simple and it's a great strategy for anybody who's new or anybody trying to get into trading. It's also a really good bank builder. I don't know if you found that, but I've always used it as a bank builder, and it was a bank builder for me coming up.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a nice bank builder. The profit margin is much more considerable to entering a trade at evens or whatnot, or looking to lay at evens and get out for X amount. It's just a nice, pleasant one. You can sit there, watch the game, and just wait for it to happen. You don't need to be too quick to press the trigger.
Yeah, and I will say that people try to adapt this, and I see it all the time with people trying to turn it into 2-1 or 3-1 because they think if the other team score, then yeah, if the other team got a score, then we've got a bit of insurance. So there's insurance on the trade itself. So then if there is a goal that goes in, you're not wiped out your trade. What I would say to you, this has been practiced and back tested and tested to destruction by myself. It's something I use in the long run. 3-1, the 2-1 just doesn't work. You're not taking the profits for what you're going to lose and how often you lose a trade to what you're actually winning on the market of the 3-0. Just stick with the 3-0. If people spent more time profiling a game and less time trying to insure a trade, then you wouldn't need the insurance. You make decent profit because you'd be selecting decent games with quality information rather than planning for it to fail.
No, that's a great point. Very well said. Thank you very much. Hopefully that will also provide valuable to numerous people who listen and choose to go down the avenue of using the 3-0 route this season. And good luck.
Thank you. I think people are going to cotton on that each and every one of these sections is just me and you, Matt, so we keep thanking and wishing each other luck. But what I will say is we record these in sections and they get put together in a podcast, so that's why we thank each other at the end of them. So anybody who wanted to leave a comment and say, why do they keep thanking each other? That's why. Thank you, Matt.
No, thank you.
You picked way back and trade, probably because you thought BTC stood for the Butterfly Tickling Club.
In this section of the podcast, we're going to be looking at dead data, Matt, and I know it's something I've added to the list. Do you understand what I mean when I said dead data?
I do not. Please explain.
It's a subject I'm quite passionate about because it's something that's used to manipulate to you by bookmakers and by betting outfits, and it's used when it shouldn't be used, as in websites that provide statistics. So dead data is data from last season. So data from last season being used for this season would be classed as dead data.
What examples would we have of that then? So if somebody is looking to select a trade, what dead data could catch us out?
Well, I'm going to give you a great example, and I'm often pulled up for picking on a rival channel. I call them rivals. They're not rivals. They're not even traders. A rival channel called Betfair Trading Community. Now, they have a video that came out at the end of August called Live Premier League Betfair Trading Strategy, Football Set and Forget. And this is a video in which Martin, I know he's a good friend of yours, he uses BTC software, Shock, to then predict whether there's going to be a goal in the second half. And he is using the last sort of 10, 15, 20 games in this video on a league that were 3 games in. Now, an example of dead data and how it's been used, and in this situation how it's been used, is we're 3 games into a season. We're 3 games into a season of brand new teams with brand new priorities, brand new managers. The team that we're looking at today, for example, in his video, is not the team of last season. Why do you think that data correlates with the team of this season? So you would have, like I said, different managers. You'll have different financial restraints. You'll have different teams, different players, different motives. A team that might have been fighting for a mid-table place last year would maybe just be happy to avoid relegation this year. A team that may have been just below mid-table last year might have had a financial investment and gone for a push. So, I think a great example, I hope you agree, Matt, would be Brighton as a team that's sort of like coming to their own.
Absolutely, yeah, great team.
Yeah, that team have moved on season after season, but with significant move-ons. So how can you, with all honesty, stand in front of somebody and go, you can use last year's data in order to make decisions on this year's trading? This is why we have the 8 games. This is why we don't trade for 8 games. It's because we want to build enough data and enough information about how this team's currently performing against a range of teams. It's albeit it's not a complete set of data, but it gives us more of an idea and a pattern that we can then use data that actually matters rather than being pumped with dead data.
Tell me about head-to-head data. Given that, like we said during the 3-0 segment, I think it's important to discuss things like this, especially as we are on the cusp now of being able to jump in and trade the European leagues. So, head-to-head data, tell me about it. What does it mean?
Head-to-head data is basically data of, say, we have Team A playing Team B. So for this example, I'll use Man United are playing Arsenal. The head-to-head data will look at the last 5 times per se, or last 6 times that these teams met. Now, it's just ludicrous. We're at the start of the season for a start, so every piece of information we're looking at is now in the previous season. Now, it's a personal annoyance to me because it's shown on TV quite a lot. It's shown on, it's used on bookies' websites that when they want you to get you to place a trade blindly, that in the last 5 times that these two teams have played, it's never ended in a draw. It's always ended up in, say, Man United winning. For example, it's just an example. I know they didn't do this season. But the point being is, if that team's dropped down from the Premier League and into the Championship, and then come back up from the Championship after 3 years back into the Premier League, a head-to-head over the last 5 games, you could be looking at 5, 6, 7, 8 years plus. You're certainly looking at 3 seasons. If they haven't played that season, you're certainly looking at the 2 games of the previous season, the 2 games previous to that, and the 1 in the game season previous to that. So why anybody would even consider using head-to-head data? Because I spoke about my annoyance and my anger over people using dead data, and dead data is what I considered last season to be. People, when they're using head-to-head, you may as well just go and open up the archives, because that's what you're doing.
Yeah, no, it's perfectly valid. It's just one of those things. It appears on every application, which, to my knowledge, are not. It's not to their benefit to make you make wrong choices. Apps like Flash Score or AI Score, they love the head-to-head data. Now, to my knowledge, they're not affiliated with bookmakers, but unless you can tell me otherwise, it's hard to believe then why they would display head-to-head data. Or is it because punters just love head-to-head data?
It purely comes down to punters just love head-to-head data, and they love it because they think it's providing an insight. It's like being data-led, but with no actual real informative data. So people do love to look at head-to-head data, and it's frustrating because these people are trying to do the right thing. They're thinking, I'm trying to research my trades effectively, but sometimes it's also a weakness, as in the example of the Betfair trading community video. As trading the market, everybody on the trading the market leadership team will tell you that we do not advocate trading less than 8 games. So if they have not played 8 games, we don't even look at it. This is just a way of getting you to trade, or being the channel that brings out a trading video on this season before everybody else, where in actual fact you should be saying, whoa, stop. Why are you trading this? We don't know anything about this season. We don't know how the teams are set up. We don't know how the new players are going to perform. You will, as a punter, you will use head-to-head data or data from last season in order to justify why you're allowed to trade currently this season, where I do this and earn a full-time living off it. I ain't trading football yet. I genuinely don't know why everybody else is. Well, the English leagues anyway. So
to try and get some practicality out of this, say, okay, it's game week 9. Trader looking to use, for example, upside down taxi, laid under 1.5 goals, any of the strategies that TTM endorse. What data that is typically readily available should I be looking to not use? So I don't think, using the selection tools provided by TTM, there shouldn't be dead data on there. But if you're looking on external websites like Sofa Scores or Soccer Stats, what should be avoided that people could fall into?
Sofa Scores and Soccer Stats tend to do provide quite a good data source. I will be honest, and again, it's something I've used myself. Now, they will give you they give you these little write-ups on the side that tell you how many games they've scored so much in, or how many games have had over 1.5 goals. You can see that as a percentage. What I will say is, on the Trading the Market website, and it's also available on Soccer Stats, but yeah, it's quite a lot of calculations to do. We provide you with a points per game. So we provide you with how many points per game that team has achieved, and we provide you with a points per game of the opponent. So if it's week 9 and they've played the first 8 games, we can show you that typically Team A have achieved 1.5 points per game against teams that have also achieved 1.5 points per game, and that would show a consistency of teams on average. Sorry, they get an average of 1.5 points a game against teams that get on average 1.5 points per game. Now, Team B could have on average 1 point per game, but they could be playing against teams that are on average 3 points a game. I know it wouldn't be 3 points a game because they would have won every game, but the idea behind it is that although they're achieving less points per game, they've just been playing harder teams. And that in stats on soccer stats and footy stats, that's not conveyed like we do. So the reason we give the opposition's points per game is because we want to show you how hard their games have been. So their first 8 games may have been the first 8 teams from the bottom of the table, and Team B first 8 games might have been the 8 teams at the top of the table. And when you come to look at data, everything on that piece of paper will say that Team B should be beaten by Team A, but that's not true. It's not necessarily true, should I say, because Team B just have a rougher ride. It doesn't mean that Team B necessarily would win, but they've been playing tougher teams. To get the greatest sample set as you can, you'd have to wait until exactly halfway through the season when they've played every single team at least once. That would be the most perfect data sample set. We don't do that. We only use 8 games, but we use that points per game indicator in order to show you that maybe a team just had it easy.
Very interesting. So data's one of those things. It's so important, but unfortunately it's not for everybody, is it? It's something you really need to ingrain in your mind to get stuck into. And I'm one of them. That's why I said it.
Yeah, I will say that there is also the other side of the fence on it, where if you look at too much data, you then don't make a decision because you get something called paralysis by analysis, where you don't tend to move or don't tend to do anything because you've analysed so much that you have now so much data that you become overwhelmed. So pick what's important. If you're trading goals, trade goals. Use the data that goes for trading goals. And if you're trading match odds, use the data that goes for dominance and possession, and not possession, but dominance and ability to score a goal to win. If you're trading corners, use like-for-like games to show how many corners would be achieved against a team that shows similar characteristics.
Trading corners. I won't go off on too much of a tangent now, but that's another subject there. I'd love to cover that one.
Yeah, by all means, stick it on the podcast. I know we'll get feedback from the Discord about what they want to hear in this, but yeah, by all means, stick it down on the list of things to talk about. Happy to discuss it. Happy to discuss why sites like Footy Stats make it a premium data rather than just standard data. But yeah, stick it in for the future if that's something you want to do.
No, I will, because there's a lot of money to be made on the Asian market on 365 at corners.
Yeah, corners is probably one that's not touched by many people, but people want to start trading, but they just don't know where to start. But yeah, we'll cover that in a future podcast if you like, Matt.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
You're all right, thank you. And again, I'm aware it's me and you talking a lot because there's only me and you here, but I'm going to ask you, Matt, so what are you trading this week?
This week I am paper trading horses.
Do you want to tell us a bit more about that? Or?
Of course. So, you've done a video called How to Pick a Winner on the horses. The horses is something I've always wanted to get involved with. I've been scared of it because, laying, ballsy, you can be laying at big prices. Backing horses, didn't think I knew how to do it. Was always punting them in the past for like Cheltenham or the big meetings. And there was a lot of negativity on the video, and I was following along and I was picking the winners, as you were. You told us to read, look at ratings, and I thought, Christ, there could be something in it. So I started paper trading the horses, and it's had a good return so far, but I'll go over that more in a different episode probably and release my genuine results.
Yeah, I think we've scheduled that, if we're not into the next episode 3. I think we've listed looking at the learning to pick a racehorse winner video.
Yep, that's on there, and also the Formula 1 strategy. There's still plenty of races left. I think the title looks as good as wrapped up, but there's certainly opportunities there. Another current topic, which is why to wait for 8 games to trade, which you kind of explained during the dead data, but there's more to be elaborated on there.
Yeah, of course, and we'll go into it more. As you didn't ask, I'll still tell you. This week I plan on trading nothing, as I will be enjoying our sunshine and heat that we've had, and I'll be taking time to do more stuff like planning the podcast and bringing it back to be more regular. So I know we want to do one every 2 weeks, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be good to try and record something at least every week and put something together bi-weekly. Not necessarily to the same length as the first one, but this could be ideal. Cover 3 to 4 subjects each week, or every other week. So
I won't be trading anything this week, but we do have the Singapore Grand Prix on Sunday the 17th of September, which I will definitely be trading, as I won't be doing the Japanese Grand Prix on the 24th of September, as it is.
So I didn't start trading to set an alarm, so I'm not going to start now.
Yes, exactly. It's at 6 a.m, so I have no plan on trading it or watching it.
But before we do wrap things up, we are joined by a special guest today. And it's great to be patching things up.
Who are we joined by?
We're joined by Martin Footer from Betfair Trading Community. How you doing, Martin?
Hi, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
No, it's great. So can you tell us, I mean, the floor's yours, why should we sign up to Betfair Trading Community? No, I'm joking. I'm not even going to go there.
I was genuinely thinking, hold on, has he actually invited Martin to come and speak on this? And then,
unfortunately, enough of their videos default to my to my YouTube. Unfortunately, I do find it hard to escape him.
Yeah, and then I thought we were just witnessing the breakdown of Matt to be for a minute. It's
wait till later once I've got out in that sun and had a few beers.
Fair play to you. I know you found his outro to one of his videos greatly annoying recently, didn't you? Where he started screaming about the Premier League being back. You did, but just like me, your comments on the videos are muted, so nobody else can see them.
I thought so. Oh,
yeah.
What?
Yeah, so they can't see him. So what they've done is they click hide person from channel, which means anything that we write doesn't come up on the channel, which I think is quite insulting, to be fair, because these guys should be paying me a consulting fee. If it wasn't for me, Ryan wouldn't be trading in a shed.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the shed. I'm thinking, get this on Spotify, monetize it, and then I can get maybe a podcast shed in the back garden.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll have to go back under the stairs.
I'd stay under the stairs because you look like a right twat trading in a shed.
Bit of a paint job. It'd be fucking hot in there, though, this weather, wouldn't it? I would have to automate all my trades, wouldn't I?
You do share something in common with Ryan, don't you?
Unfortunately.
You are both ginger.
Shit. Oh, that wasn't what I was going to say, but you know, I'm not here outing your identity, am I? So
No.
why should you bring me into it? I'll say my name's even Matt.
It is Matt, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. You didn't have a funny out for that comedy cul-de-sac, did you?
No, I did not. I wasn't expecting it. You caught me off guard. Normally have an answer for everything.
We're planning on having the podcast more regular now. I understand if you are watching this on YouTube, there's not very much on the screen for it in the realms of entertainment, but it does allow you to just play it, close down your browser, as in minimise your browser, and then carry on with what you're doing, whether you're trading or sat there working, listening to it on your phone or on your browser. I hope it provides good insight into...
Incognito.
Yeah, I hope it provides a good insight into sort of the world of pro traders, and if you do want to have or see anything on the podcast or something to be discussed, I think we've got well over 100 subjects, have we, Matt, now to cover currently?
Yeah, plenty.
Yeah, but if anybody wants to jump onto the Discord and go into the podcast subject ideas and put anything in there for us to discuss, it will be looked at and we'll of course add into it. So hopefully this is the start of the new layback and trade with 104 scheduled episodes a year.
Correct.
And hopefully you won't just be listening to me and Matt on it. We will get others in. So when we did the first one, there was a lot more of us on, but it's an absolute nightmare to arrange everybody because everybody's got different schedules. So the constant in it will always be Matt, and as he hosts it, endeavour to have some guests on it, and hopefully they won't all be just impressions by Matt.
No, no. Genuinely, thank you for listening. I hope it is as valuable to you as I'm sure it will be to me. But most importantly of all, I hope you make some money trading on Betfair.
No, they're not going to like that.
A word from our sponsors. From Barry in Newcastle, he's giving away free kidneys with every pint of Madry.